Hey everybody, it's Andy. Welcome to session 2 of my live workshop, job interview communication workshop. I love it. We are in session 2 of 4. We're talking all advanced things related to communication in a job interview, although you'll be able to carry this with you throughout your life. Session 2 today on being confident in the job interview. So we're going to get to that in a minute. I just want to say, hey, to everybody who's here live, get in the chat. Tell me who you are. Tell me where you're from. Tell me what you need. Put some question marks in front of your question. We are looking for job interview related questions and questions for the topic, although you can ask me anything. We're going to try to place some priority on those. If you're watching me on the recording, great to have you too. So you have the roadmap of where we are, where we've been. Session 1, we did that a couple of days ago. It was on building rapport, how to get out of the gate quickly by building a good connection and having good chemistry with the job interviewer. If you do that well, today's session on being confident gets a heck of a lot easier. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to come back early next week with everything body language related, so how the verbal and nonverbal cues that go along with the different phases of the job interview. And then we're going to cap it off with what probably is my favorite, although I love all of these, related to giving a presentation in a job interview. So we've got a lot of good stuff coming up. It's going to be a heck of a week. And if you missed session 1, go check that out. The recording is on my YouTube channel, and I am going to leave it up there for you. So enjoy that. Now, today is on job interview confidence. This is not the first time I've spoken about this. I actually shot a video last year, the year before, called Job Interview Confidence. It's got a tagline with pro tips in it. And I covered, as you get into the interview and you look at the different phases of the job interview, when you get a chance to describe yourself, walk them through your resume, or tell me about yourself, kind of the early warm-up stage where you can control your story. And then I move into the body, the major body, where they're asking you questions, usually the popular job interview questions, and that you're fielding lots of questions that you probably anticipate. And then when you get to close with your questions. And I talked about how to be confident at all 3 of those stages. But let's be honest, it's a lot easier to be confident when you've prepared, when you know what you're speaking about, when you're describing stories that have actually occurred in your life. It's a matter of just remembering them and sharing them cleanly. That's a lot easier, wouldn't you say? So where does that leave us right now? What does that leave us to talk about? Well, when are we the most exposed? When are we at the greatest risk of feeling not confident? When they ask us something where we don't know the answer, or perhaps we don't really have the experience. So that's what I want to focus on today, and that's what's going to be the lion's share of the discussion, because I think this is where you have the greatest likelihood of tripping up. Now, before we get into this, I want you to take some comfort in a couple of things. The first thing is, when you do get asked questions that are venturing into areas that you don't have experience or you don't really know the answers to, fact of the matter is, the employer, the job interviewers, they probably should have known that, right? From your resume. You didn't advertise that you had particular skills, or maybe you were trying to be clear that you didn't have that much domain experience in a particular area, an industry, a solution line, a methodology, a process, or whatever, technology, whatever it might be. So they probably should have known that. And they might even know that. And they might just be kind of fishing to see maybe you have some additional stuff that isn't on your resume. But the second thing that you can take comfort in is, I'm going to give you a formula that I want you to practice. I want this to become automatic. And if you do this, I guarantee you will come off more confidently. You will. I promise you. And I got me some note cards today, just a couple of them, but I want to take you through a 5-step process that I want you to use to kind of build your own formula as you get into these areas where you're not really sure. They're asking you about something that you don't have experience with. All right, first thing, and this is a little sneak into the body language discussion, but the first thing about being confident and carrying that air about you has everything to do with your reaction to the question. So reaction is very, very important, that initial how you felt about it. This goes for a lot more than just the interview. It goes for your salary negotiation, your greetings, all that good stuff. And the tone and the voice in which you share the first words out of your mouth, right? Because you're going to react, and they're likely going to see you physically before the sound travels to them. So if you think about this as an entire reaction, that's very, very important. So when they ask you something that you do not know, your natural response needs to be that you are pleased, if not excited, about the fact that they asked you this question. So if they're asking you, have you used this methodology? How much experience do you have in this technology? Have you ever worked in this industry? How would you draw parallels between this and that? Whatever the question is, the most important thing for you to do is smile first. You don't have to glow like a clown. Just smile. Just be positive. Kind of lean in a little, not all the way across the table, but just kind of lean into it like, this is great. I'm thrilled you asked me. And as a matter of fact, the first words out of my mouth would probably be, you know what, that's a great question. It's interesting that you asked me that. Or something like that, something very positive, that you are welcoming the chance to share what it is you're about to share. So the first thing is you've got to have a positive reaction, because that is going to carry more weight. And we're going to talk about this in the body language discussion, but if you have ever heard of Albert Mehrabian's rule of personal conduct, he talks about the 7-38-55 rule. And what that means is that 7% of your communication is coming from your words, 38% is coming from your tone, and 55% is coming from your body language. I think I got that right. But basically, 93% of what the message you're sending to them has nothing to do with the words that you're using. So, and we're going to talk about the mistakes people make, but I want you to file this because it's very important that your reaction is positive. Very, very, very important. Then after you say, it's interesting that you asked me that, or it's a great question, or whatever you want to say, or both, then all I want you to do is I want you to use some positive language for a negative thing, right? I've yet to do that. I've yet to experience that. I've yet to gain experience. I've yet to use that technology. I've yet to use that methodology. I've yet to use that cost basis accounting method, whatever it might be. I've yet to do that. You can get this over quickly. Fact of the matter is, you never said you did that. That's in 99% of the cases. And take comfort in knowing that you are sitting there in the interview, and they likely should have known this, or at least whoever screened you knew this. So that's the next thing, or really the first thing that you're going to utter. So that's very important. Then the third part about this is it's more important to talk about who you are, not who you're not, or what you are, not what you're not. And it's always greater to talk about what you know versus what you don't. The conversation is not about the fact that you don't have the experience or you don't know the answer. You need to explain to them what you can do, what you do have experience with, or how you would think through something, or whatever the proper case may be. So I've yet to use that management methodology, but I have used these three others. I've yet to use that technology, but I've used this one or these others just like it. I've never had practical experience on the job using that technology, but in school, I learned and practiced this. I took night classes, whatever it is that you did do. You want to try to draw a parallel between what they asked and the insight that they're looking for, the experience they're looking for with you, with what it is that you have done that you can use some application of, so that you can get up to speed quickly, which is leading me into my next thing. So you want to talk about what you know, not what you don't. This is about what you can do, not what you can't do. You're going to rack up a lot more points, and they're going to feel a lot better about the discussion if you're talking about what you are able to do. So I've yet to do that. I do have some experience in these other methodologies, which I had to learn for the first time. And as a matter of fact, I want you to talk about And when I experience something that I have not encountered before, these are the steps that I take to get up to speed quickly. So the first time I had to learn a project management methodology, here's what I did. The second time I had to learn a different methodology, here's what I did to get up to speed quicker. That took me half the time to learn the first one, and so on. Or if it's not something specific, use your generic techniques. This is ultimately what I do to get up to speed, to shrink that learning curve. So just to roll with me here. So I've yet to do that. I do have this experience, and whenever I'm faced with learning something along these lines, a new technology, a new methodology, a new application, whatever it is, here's what I do to get up to speed. And then the next thing that I want you to get in there is your overall philosophy about how you feel about not knowing something. So this element is, I've yet to do that. I have used these other applications or these other methodologies. When I was faced with those for the first time, or when I'm faced with something for the first time, here's what I do. And you know what? As a matter of fact, I absolutely love when I encounter things that I haven't encountered before, because then I get to learn something new. That's how we all grow, isn't it? And as a matter of fact, that's one of the things that's very attractive to me about this role in your company, is the fact that I'm going to get to learn a new insert whatever it is here. So you want them to know that you're coming in with an attitude that says, I welcome this. And when you think about it, I personally, no matter how long I've been doing this as a trainer, I literally learn something new every day that I have never encountered before. Every single day. So a lot of you, especially if you're dealing with a role that's varied, has many different facets to it, you're going to be facing things that you haven't faced for the first time frequently. The other thing is the rate at which things change in this world today. There's a high velocity of new things that get introduced on a daily basis that change the way we do things from a platform perspective, from a communications perspective, and all those other things. So this should not be shocking anybody. So I want to make sure that you do that, and you can do all that very quickly and see where they take you. But the point to all of this is your reaction needs to be very positive. You do not dwell on the fact that you don't have that experience. I've yet to do that. That's it. That's all you need to say. Then move into what you do know, what you've learned in the way of other applications, what you've learned in the way of other methodologies, whatever it might be. Then talk about how you get up to speed, and then talk about your philosophy. That is your formula. You don't have anything else to talk about when they've asked you that question that you don't have experience with. So you may as well be confident and fill it in with that formula, because that's going to give them a better indication of who you are, what you're about, and what you bring to the table. Now, I also want to talk about some of the things that I don't want you to do, because these are really going to neutralize that confident tone, the voice, your inflection, the eye contact that you should be giving them, the fact that you were leaning into something. And I kind of wrote these all on one card, because I think you get it based on what I just said. I don't want you to look away. I don't want you to cower. I don't want you to lean back. I don't want you to stall. I don't want you to humana. I certainly don't want you fidgeting around when you get nervous. These are sending all the wrong signals. So if you're slouching back, or you're pulling away, or you appear to have been caught off guard, you're starting in a hole. And as a matter of fact, then their mindset goes to, all right, now you're uncomfortable. How are you going to react to this? I still need to know whether you have the experience I just asked you about, right? So it's a deep hole. But if your tone is confident, if you get out the fact right away that you don't have that experience, you'll do fine. And then you talk about who you are, not what you're not. Believe me, this works. For those of you that, I guess to cap this all off before we go into questions, for those of you that have the interview intervention book, if you have the interview intervention book, there's a chapter in the book called My Silver Bullet Interview. And it's got the 14 most effective job interview questions that I think you can be asked, in my opinion. So there's the 14 base questions. There is 43 variations of those questions. So each question can be disguised differently. I also cite what the employer is looking for and the very best response. One of those questions in that chapter is, how do you educate yourself? that how do you educate yourself, and the way that's packaged is very similarly to what I just described, because you are ultimately talking about, you've changed their question from do you have this experience to how do you educate yourself. You've done that. You've powerfully done that, because that's all you have to talk about in the wake of that question that they likely shouldn't even ask you in the first place, but they did. So I want you to go in there confidently. I want you to be confident. I want you to remember your reaction, your tone, and the formula. And I think you'll do great. All right, hope that helped you. Not too bad, 15 minutes. Let me see if I can get this back. I think I got it back. I mean, I'm having all kinds of damn difficulty this week. This is my fourth live show this week. With second one with you guys, and I hope I didn't hang up on everybody. And if I'm not there, can you just please refresh the screen? The 160, 70 that I hope are still on here. Goodness. Yeesh. All right. Oh, I don't know is Dan in demand here? If Dan in demand is here, I'm going to try to get through this, say hello, and get some questions here. If Dan in demand is here, I want to thank you for that mug. I love that mug, buddy. All right, Varun, hey. Jason Garrity, my boot campers, hey. Evelyn O, hey. And I think I saw something from Natalie Taylor, my boot camper, hey to you. Steve G, always great to have you. Brandon, detail guy. Patricia Atkinson, hey. Brent. Brooke Sachs, my boot camper. John from Maryland, great to have you. Zendove 1. I'm normally a Zen guy. Chandon Singh, hey. Isis, you are in the leadership program. Keith Ferris, another boot camper, great to have you. Mary Catherine Kelly from Oakbrook, how are you? Great to have you. All right, let me, and everybody, Stacy Gilmore, I hope you are still here. I would like to get on a phone call with you because I want to talk to you about something. So I hope you're still here. And MK, my boot camper, my leader, great to have you. Man, there's a whole bunch of you guys. Awesome. Dan C, yes, that is pretty brilliant, my friend. For those of you that don't know the backstory here, I did a meetup in Chicago, middle of September, and Dan in demand, my boot camper, my leader, my goal setter, my career accelerator guy, he brought me this all the way from Minnesota. Okay. All right. More to living. Let's see. I'm gonna try not to bang on anything here. All right. More to living. After review of organization I applied for, I determined the cost of living in the area is triple that of average. Okay. They do not offer housing or relocation assistance. How, based on these factors, do I politely decline an interview invite if it ever comes? Several sources I researched list high turnover due to living costs in area. Thank you. More to living. There is more to living. These are high costs, and it does depend on the cities that you move to. So, first thing is I approach this a couple of ways. For any of you, and obviously More to Living is looking out of his or her town or city or state, please look at the cost of living and what it will take for you to move, to live comfortably. I mean, if you're going, and I went to school in Iowa, and if you're going from Iowa to New York or San Francisco or something like that, it's pretty rough. If you're going from Chicago to New York, salaries are actually pretty similar, but housing in New York is a lot more expensive, and housing in Chicago is pretty darn expensive. So you got to know these things. And first thing is to make sure to research it. Second thing is, I would simply say to them, first off, you say they do not offer housing and relocation assistance. If you know that because it was advertised, because they said we do not offer relocation or housing assistance, first off, I would be shocked that would be publicly displayed, because they would be removing candidates left and right when they shouldn't. They should want to speak to you and then figure out what they're willing to do to move you. The second thing is if an interview invite comes, do not reject it ever. I almost don't care what they've advertised, and I don't care about what you've read on whatever sites. I would speak to someone, just do some exchanging, say I'm interested in moving to your town. Just out of curiosity, do you typically offer relocation assistance for the right person, or when you do relocate somebody? Because if they're open to interviewing you and you are out of state or out of city or out of country, the chances are pretty great that they actually do offer some kind of stipend. It might be capped. They might say, we are going to factor that into your living, your raise, your new salary. We've had to relocate people through my search firm Mile Walk, where somebody went from making $100,000 to $150,000, and it was kind of rolled in, and they did it that way. So there's a lot of different ways, but I would never, if you are, I'm assuming you're watching me, and if you are looking to move and you have an opportunity to interview with a company that you've targeted, I would take the time. It's worth the hour. It's worth the hour to prepare. It's worth the hour to talk to them or whatever. And then what I would say is you get in there, you get engaged, and if they do want you to fly out, they obviously they should pay for that. And if at that time you say, hey, look, I really like you, I just want to make sure that I understand if I'm going to come and take the time and take the trip, I want to make sure that this is a possibility that you're gonna help me with the relocation costs. So that's important that you do that. All right, I hope that helps. Varun, how do you control your confidence and not come across overconfident when you know the answer after your research but want to show it? Is that Tanaka as always? I'm wondering if you, I'm assuming that's where that stopped. I'm not even sure what to say there. If you know the answer, I want you to say it confidently. Usually, where you run a greater risk of appearing cocky as opposed to confident is when you just keep talking and you never shut up, right? So if you just keep running off at the mouth, I think that's your greatest risk, and that's the thing to watch out for. Just, explain and say, I'm really comfortable with this. I've been working with this for a long time, and I've implemented that a dozen times in 3 different markets, and there's nothing wrong with that. You just tell them. Just tell them. By the way, you, as somebody in my community who I've come to know, I just don't think you need to worry about that. That's just not your demeanor either. So I hope that helps. Kara, I'm not sure what that little Tanaka as always thing is. Steve G. I went in for an interview last week, Monday. On Friday, I got an email to tell me there was a delay in the process and they will contact me ASAP. Should I reach out and follow up? So, Steve, that was Friday, and today is now Thursday. I would wait till Monday and say, no problem, I've got your message. Let me know. I'm eager to follow up whenever you're ready. Let me know when that is. If they say there's a delay in the process, what you're hoping to get out of them is, what kind of delay are we talking? And my immediate response, if I got that email on Friday, I would have immediately responded on Friday and said, no problem. Thank you for communicating with me. I'm greatly interested in your organization. So I'd love to know if you have any idea when you might pick this process up again. That's what I would have asked them Friday, 6 days ago. And then you get the response, and then hopefully you know when to follow up next time. Always, everybody, I cannot say this enough. Every single interaction that you have, when something is, we will call you, we will get back to you, we will reach out about next steps, we're not sure when that's going to, all that stuff, every single time you have any interaction, when is next? What's the timing? When do you think you'll get back to me? This is okay to ask. And then they say, we're not sure yet. That's fine. Then you contact them in a week. If they say, we think it's going to be 10 days, you give them 14 days. that kind of thing. They say 7 days, you give them 10 days, calendar days. So that's what I'm talking about. You always want to ask. React. It should be automatic. I hope that helps. Keith Ferris, my boot camper. Good news, I have 3 phone interviews. I would expect nothing less. I know you've been working hard at it. All right, let me go over this one again. All right, Keith Ferris, my boot camper. Good news, I have 3 phone interviews. I also have to take 3 predictive index test behavioral and cognitive assessments. Any help or thoughts on these tests to prep? I do. And Kara, can we need this? I get asked this question every week. We just need to shoot the video so I can refer people to the video every single time. So do not prepare for these things. Do not go nuts. Do not worry. What you're doing is, by thinking you need to prepare, you're working yourself up. So don't. So the first thing is, don't do anything. Go in and take them. Take them honestly. If it's a cognitive test or an aptitude test or a whatever test, just take it as best you can. Don't worry about it. So that's my advice. It is my advice. I would not try to, jimmy them. I would not try to answer them in a manner in which you think they want you to answer. Most of these tests, if there are enough questions on the behavioral stuff, they're asking you the same question 10 different ways, looking for consistency in your responses. So I wouldn't, and then actually they get more freaked out at inconsistency than anything else. So that's on those. On the aptitude or cognitive tests, most organizations will not make them a great influencer in whether you will be hired. The reason is most of them get it. The fact of the matter is that no aptitude test on this planet can ever determine whether you will be a great employee at that organization. I don't care what anybody says. IQ tests test your brain in an inert state. It is impossible to simulate your stress from your personal life, the stress or political stress in the company, market conditions, economic conditions, customer issues, teammate issues, your boss is having a bad day. All that stuff goes on constantly. So IQ tests are testing your brain in an inert state, usually under stress. But when you go to an office or you get on a flight or wherever it is you're going for work, you have all these other factors that you deal with. And some people cope with them better. Some people don't cope with them better. But asking you, how many oranges Johnny has in the sack, on his paper sack, isn't going to tell him. So I would not worry about that. And the last thing I'll say about this is, any employer that actually comes back to you and says, we're not hiring you because, is not anybody that's worthy of having you as an employee. So I hope that helps. All right, Evelyn O. As a manager who received the highest performance rating year after year, 8 years, you then get a new boss who undid everything you've ever done. They never can undo what you've done. Never. Took away all your major responsibilities, didn't include you in anything, and was able to get you laid off during an acquisition. It was a knock to my confidence and made me question my abilities. How do you come back after that fiasco? Fact of the matter, Evelyn, is nobody steals your sanity. You give it away. So I would not think about that situation. It's unfortunate when you go into your next interview. The fact of the matter was that there was an acquisition. There were some layoffs in your unit. You were affected. And for you, it's even an easier story to tell because you went on to go to school. You got your undergraduate degree. It's going to be a stepping stone for what, the types of positions that you want to interview for. I've looked at your background. I know you have a lot of administrative, facility, and a lot of other things that align to HR in the areas that you want to go to. I would not even worry about that. So I would not even think about that. I would think about the 8 years of wonderful performance reviews and all the things that you contributed. Nobody gets to steal that from you. You have to give that away. So take my words, think about that, and keep your head up. All right. Chandan Singh. Hi, Andy. Thank you for doing this. I'm an international candidate, and I'll be attending my first career fair this Saturday. Love it. What could my response be if employers say they don't hire or provide sponsorship? If they don't provide sponsorship and you need it, move on. That would be my response. And the other thing that you could do is you could collect all the business cards you want for those organizations that don't provide that sponsorship. And then what I would do is I would stay in touch with them. I would get connected with them. And the other thing that I would do is I probably would ask them if there's any networking help that they could give you. So every encounter that all of you have in every single communication you have, you sent a LinkedIn email to somebody you're trying to develop a relationship with. You sent a cover letter to a recruiter at a company that you're targeting, or a hiring official, or you go to a job fair, or you're sitting on the train riding home. I don't care what it is. If you've got some way that you and somebody else are exchanging anything, that person is a potential networker for you. So what I encourage my boot campers to do is when you send a letter in, and if they say, hey, we don't have anything available, or thanks, but no thanks, you can control your response, which is going back to them saying, okay, well, you can obviously see that I'm in the middle of my job search. Do you know any areas where I should look, or companies that could, do you know any people or have colleagues in companies that could use my services or my skill set or whatever? Same thing for you. If you are at a job fair or a career fair or a networking event or an industry conference or whatever it might be, that's how I would approach that. And candidly, in this in this day and age right now, if you are looking for sponsorship, at least in the United States, which is where I am, it is very difficult, and employers are reluctant to pay all that money because it is expensive to get a work visa, and then ultimately sponsorship and green card and all that other good stuff, because they can find somebody in their location. A better bet for you would be to try to find a company in your country that is international, that if you get into that organization, they would potentially transfer you because you're a known commodity, you're a good bet. They've obviously trained you and all that good stuff. The other questions are, why do you want to move? So without knowing what's driving your desire to move countries, that also factors in. So I don't know if anybody is married, got a husband, a wife who's being transferred or something in that nature. But those are some things that I would try. All right, Tiago. Hey Andy, became a fan in the last 2 weeks. Thank you. I'm using all your tips. Wonderful. Got another video interview 2 hours ago and used some of your tips. Awesome. Even if the job is not what I like, it's good training. Oh, Tiago, wonderful. Great to hear that. I love it. I'm glad it's at least my stuff is helping. I really am. I mean, that's awesome. Joe Winter, my boot camper from Louisville. Good morning to you, my friend. Interview tomorrow, awesome. Interviewer said it would be controversial, not her asking Joe, let me start again. Joe Winter from Louisville, my boot camper. Good morning to you. All right, I have an interview tomorrow. Awesome. The interviewer said it would be conversational, not her asking traditional questions. What is the best way to prepare? Joe, the best way to prepare is the same way I've always taught you to prepare, and be ready for anything. Okay, because just because it's conversational doesn't mean she's not asking you, oh, tell me about yourself. Yeah, this is great. Let's get to know each other. Hey, have you ever worked in this particular area or with this solution? That's conversational to me. The same questions, right? It's just a matter of tone and relaxation. So what she's probably saying, I think you said it was she, is that, So what she's probably saying is, I'm not going to ask you, tell me about a time when you had to assemble the Rubik's Cube. Whatever. Like she's not going to go there. But it's going to be more back and forth and get to know you. So everything that is in Module 4 of the Bootcamp, that applies. That applies for sure. Do not... Actually, Kara, can we make a note on this? Because I do think this is important. And Joe, so I want to make a clip. One other thing is I did do a video that for the life of me, I will not remember the title, but it had to do with with informational interviews. I don't even like that expression. But basically, when you are going into an interview and you don't know a lot about certain things, this is what I would do. I would check that video out too. And if Kara's on her game, she'll plop that in for you. All right. Mallory Thompson, how you doing? Hey, Andy, thank you so much for these videos. You're welcome. I have a question. As someone that is switching careers from biology to tech, what's the best way to help my confidence in interviews? Mallory, candidly, I would do a couple things. I would watch that job interview confidence video that I just mentioned. I would replay the stuff from today, and I would check out my Career Changers playlist, because there are videos in that Career Changers playlist that talk about how career changers can win the interview. If you go through that, I think I went through 10 different steps that an interview that a job seeker should go through in an interview when they are a career changer. You do that, you'll be confident. You will, and you have a science-based background, which is it's plausible to believe that you should be able to pick up whatever tech or whatever it is that you're going into, because obviously you have the analytical capacity to do that. I really think you'll be great. I really do. All right, MCK, interviewer has clearly never even looked at my resume until the sit down. This happens. He starts with walk me through your resume. Any tips? Yes. Mary, go watch my walk me through your resume video. Okay, Tiago Capristano. Andy, I need to find a power answer for how do you manage your team? Is your experience in managing team, dealing with a worker problem? Yes, go to the interview intervention book. The answer is in there. All right, Kara, catch me up here. Where are we at? I'm going to the chat. I'm looking. Hey, Tanette. To Crash, how you doing? MK, great to see you. Sharuk, hey. While Kara loads me some more. Dimitri, hey. Dimitri, I'm taking yours. I was phone screened by an HR person from a company a while ago, and their response was negative. I can see the vacancy is still open. Would you recommend reaching out to them again? I don't know. When you say negative, I don't know what you mean. Did they say, Dimitri, you will never work here because you don't fit culturally, you don't have the right background, you don't know whatever. So the rationale behind why they didn't want, or this person did not, or was negative, would determine whether I reached out to them again. And I probably wouldn't go back to that person. I probably would go to somebody else. Emma, hey from the Netherlands. Jacqueline, hey. Oh, Matara, hey to you. All right. Kara, I'm going over to you. Miss Clancy, hello from Seattle. Took your tips to the conference I attended 2 weeks ago and it went well. Awesome. How do I address why I'm relocated to another state without being negative or knocking my current employer? Relocating to another state has nothing to do with your current employer. Miss Clancy, check out my video on how to get an out-of-state job, or best way to get an out-of-state job. The answers are all in there. Oh, look who's here. Alex, how are you? Don't you start your new job? Wait, what's today? Oh, you start. Okay, congratulations. Can we all give Nizovics a big round of applause? She recently had a birthday. She's young, but she's nice and young, but not too young, but not old at all. So let's wish her happy birthday. And second thing is, let's wish her big congratulations on her new job, which starts in a couple days. I love it. I love it. Okay, so that's for Alex. I'm starting my new job on Monday. I'm traveling on site to meet the team and we'll be there for 3 days. Any advice other than the 12 steps for starting a new job I should focus on in those 3 days? Yes, Alex, you're a boot camper. Go to the Career Accelerator program. Study up on those modules. First module is on the first 90 days. The second module is on how to get basically what to do to position yourself for a promotion within the first year. The third module is on the excellence planning. Do that. And then if you're so inclined, you got some time, go into the organizational tactic stuff, because that's how I'd operate my day, my week, my month, my quarter, and so on. And then the fifth module is about how to get ready and what to collect along the way to make sure that you have the data that you need a year from now, but you're collecting it as you go. So I'd run through that, and I think they're each about an hour or so. Just hit the teaching portions of those, but that's what I would do. You have access to it, and that's what I would do. Minsu, I have final interview today thanks to you. Awesome. Oh, good for you. D.A. Chavez, I don't know if that's Chavez 21. How can I keep my confidence when I've got 3 interviewers in front of me? Confidence comes from inside you, not outside you. So you have got to be able to control your thinking. And the tips that I gave in the job interview confidence video about how to prepare, it's irrelevant whether you have 100 people sitting in front of you or whether you have 1. So I would send you back to that video and do that. It makes no difference. But one other thing that I would check for you is I'd watch my video on how to ace the panel interview. So just type panel interview on my YouTube channel and it'll be there. And I want to take this moment to say to everybody that I know that it, as a matter of fact, as this is the way it should be, it's impossible for you to watch everything I've ever created. But I am happy to answer whatever questions you have in these live shows. That's awesome. But I likely have a video that I've already created that covers the exact topic that you are looking for. So whatever it is, however niche you think it is, however micro you think it is, on my YouTube channel, hit the search bar and then type in specifically what you're looking for. So you got a 99% chance of having something I've already tailored, at least on a free basis, for that. So give that a try. Rochelle, what if you end up needing to use this formula more than once? That's totally okay. And as a matter of fact, you know what? If you don't know the answer to more than one question, do you sound ridiculous? Well, okay, so a couple things. I was in my kitchen making this, and I knew somebody was going to ask me this. So you get a shout out for doing that, because I knew that this would come up in the Q&A, and I can't wait to tell you what I thought. So my view on this is a couple of things. If somebody is interviewing you and you have, and let's just say two times where you just don't have the experience. Number one, I would be quite surprised that happens, because if that is the case, what's running through my mind is, what the hell am I doing here? Meaning, like, why did you even call me in? You know I don't have this experience. I'd really be wondering about this. Now, obviously, you don't want to say that to them out loud, but that's certainly what would be going through my head. That's different than them asking you brain teaser questions and you having to talk out the answer and you're not quite sure, how to solve them. That's different. But if they're asking you situations where you have some analogous experience, if the second time I got that question, I would just say, hey, here again, this is, for me, I've got a lot of experience in that solution line. Or, and even if it's a completely different thing, this was technology, this was methodology, or whatever, makes no difference. Here again, just like with technologies, I haven't used this particular methodology, so I'd probably say that. But here I have this, and here I have these, and I would use the same thing. And you could say, so let's say I get a technology question first. Okay, so I have interesting question. I've yet to do that. I've yet to do that, but I do have these experiences. This is the way I got up to speed on those. I really embraced the opportunity. That's your first one, right? Second one is, just like I mentioned with the technologies, methodology, same thing. I've got, multiple methodologies under my belt, and so I would apply that just like the technologies. And as a matter of fact, I use the same formula to get up to speed on those methodologies that I did at the technology, and I move on. And that would be it. So I would make it tight, and I probably would reference my first answer, and I would just say, much like I got up to speed on that, same principles apply. And my philosophy, of course, is the same. And that's how I would do that. Man, you get more than one that's something. You get more than 2, then you got to be thinking about, like, is this job for you? So that's my thought there. All right. Oh, Kara is telling me I should mention the boot camp. You see, I get lost in this stuff. We do have a boot camp going on, people. I hope you've been open on your emails. We got a boot camp, job search boot camp. For those of you who don't know what that is, I have a signature job search program, 5 major modules in it. And without going into all the stuff, what you need to know about it, it is incredibly complete. Everything that you need in the sequence in which you need it. And in addition to all of those modules that cover every imaginable aspect of your job search. This is not parsed out like it's a resume program, or it's an interview program, or it's a negotiation program, or a job search. It is everything. There is a ton of support from me. You kind of got me at your fingertips, but then we also have 5 live sessions that we're doing starting a week from tomorrow, so October 18th, and then every Friday for the next 5 Fridays, there are private live group coaching sessions. And then throughout the entire year, when you are a boot camper, you are a boot camper for life. That means you have access to it for life, you have upgrades to it for life, and you could come to all the live sessions for life. So a lot of the boot campers, when they get their job, they come back, they participate in the live sessions, they ask me about their career development. So it's pretty awesome. You also get, I think you just heard me mention this to Alex, who is in the boot camp. She and everybody else gets my Career Accelerator program. So the next wave of what you need is get job, crush job, right? So it's, and you heard me talk about, the 90 days, planning for your, and doing the right things for your promotion. I give you my excellence planning techniques, my organizational techniques, and I give you all my promotional readiness and interaction techniques. So when you go and actually discuss those promotions. So it's very, very complete. If you were on my email list, you are getting, you'll get an email tomorrow. You'll get an email Monday. We'll skip the weekend. But we'll tell you about it. But I would highly recommend getting in it. And if you're really smart, if you're on the fence about it, get in, go through it, and then bring all your questions on Friday and the following Friday, so I can work with you and we can go through it. But it's and I do have a guarantee. You get a month with the program. We just really don't get a lot of returns. It's really hardly anybody. They can see the value and they love the engagement in the community and the support. So I hope you jump in. I get lost in trying to help you. I always forget to tell you these things. All right, Daryl Newman. Okay, this is a great question. Can the job title on the resume be a reason why I am getting screened out of the job interviews? If so, how to address the issue? My previous job title was customer care rep. Daryl, anything is possible. I don't think it's likely. So I do not think that the resume is the reason the title on your resume is the reason that you're getting screened out. I think that there are other reasons. However, one thing I want to go back to that is very vital, and because I don't know your tactics, I don't know what you're doing, I don't know your demographic, and I don't know the types of companies you're reaching into, I don't know what your resume looks like, there's a lot I don't know. And I want to throw that out there because for most people, the reason they are not getting job interviews is because the tactics they are going about trying to surface those interviews are faulty or wasteful or just not the high value activities. So most people, and here again, I don't know what you're doing, but most people, as a matter of fact, if you guys are on my email list this morning, the email that announced this session, there was an email in it from Gabe. It was Gabriel. And he got an awesome new job. He's a boot camper. And he said, Andy, I resisted using the searching technique, and you told me to stop putting my resume into applicant tracking systems. And after failing miserably, I did. And then all of a sudden, magically, I got this awesome job. So most of the time, people are putting their resume into applicant tracking systems, and either their resume isn't aligning to the job description, It's getting filtered out. It gets filtered out in 97% of the cases anyway. You only have a couple or 3% chance of your resume ever being seen, even if you're a dead bullseye for the job. So anything can be happening from that perspective. I do recommend JobScan, which is a good tool for you to take your resume and the job description and match it up. It's not the be-all, end-all. It's just a good tool that you can use to surface some obvious things related to your resume. If you feel that your title is not an accurate representation of what you do, then what I suggest is that you do a couple things. If your title is customer care rep, you could be customer service representative. You might want to change it to something very, very similar. Or you might want to say customer service representative, and then in the description that I recommend that you have below the title, known internally as customer care or performed customer care representative activities, or something like that, where you are neutralizing the lack of knowledge or association with your company's corporate internal title with the outside world, when people don't recognize what that is. That there are many, many tricks that you can use to do that. We actually have a whole teaching lesson in the Bootcamp where I go through all these exceptions and other things like that as well. So it's something to consider. But I without looking at your resume, I have no idea, without knowing where you're sending it. But my reaction, my natural reaction is no, that is not the case. I know what a customer care rep is. I mean, I would just make sure that the keywords are in there. Would I consider having a confidence bootcamp? I would not, because the bootcamp I already have is all about confidence. I don't know if you saw my email Tuesday, EDE292, but there was an email in that email, meaning a picture of an email that one of the boot campers sent me. In one paragraph, she used the word confidence 4 times. It is probably the single most used word that I see in the testimonials and the testifications back to me from the boot campers. I can't get over how much more confident I was in doing these things, and so it's all in there. It will all make you more confident. It without a doubt, 100%. Mark Townsend, how do you keep your energy and confidence when faced with a 6-hour on-site interview? Bud, get a good night's sleep. Make sure you eat right. I mean, all that stuff, to me, that stamina is about your enthusiasm toward the role, the company, and you taking care of yourself in days leading up to that. Steve Froelich, Andy, I love this stuff. Me too. Last week, Thursday, I think I had a successful phone screen, but I haven't heard back on scheduling an interview with management. Should I message the screener? Yes. Again, Steve, everybody else, when you have it, when will I hear back from you by? When do you expect? Is this a day, a week, a month? Now, with screeners, it's different. So you've got different types of people that could be your initial screener. You might have a screener, low level, super no power, at all. And that's below a recruiter who has no power either. The only power the recruiter has is to boot you out, which I suppose is some power. But fact of the matter is, if you're dealing with a screener, I would say, okay, I'm sure you're interviewing a bunch of other candidates for this role. When can I expect to hear from you by? Just curious, so I can plan on my end, I would ask. If you're dealing with we would have our first screen as Mile Walk when we recruit people for our clients. Rarely, if they don't really have a huge recruiting arm, or even if they do, a lot of times they'll have a quick call with the recruiter, or they'll bypass the recruiter altogether, and we'll go right to the hiring officials. The hiring official doesn't have to think on whether he or she wants to get back to you right away and move you to the next step. They likely will say, hey, Steve, you're awesome. I'm going to get you lined up with the team. I'll get back to Andy and we'll let them know, or I'll get back to you and we'll let you know, or whatever it is. Usually you'll be able to tell, and you have to gauge it based on who it is you're actually interacting with. So keep that in mind. I would follow up if this is a week. So yes, I would. All right, Mark Townsend, how do you react to an interviewer who seems to be completely deadpan and how he interacts with the interviewee? Mark, I would go back to my video on building rapport, which I did just a couple days ago. And that one, you got to be nice. You get back what you give off. And if they're deadpan, they're deadpan. But I would still be positive. I would still interact and be as upbeat and positive as you possibly can be. And I think the expression I used on Tuesday a couple days ago was, there's people that are just going to be icebergs, right? And you're gonna have to do your best to try to melt them. Dancy, my boot camper. Do you have any advice for when the interviewer is long-winded? Yes, be quiet and listen. Seriously. As the time remaining in the interview is running down, I'd hardly answered any questions. I got anxious, not good. No, whoever talks more thinks it went better. So in 90% of the cases, Dano and everybody else, let them talk. Let them talk. It's okay. When they come up for air, it's okay if you want to say, hey, I'd love to tell you more about me. I feel like I haven't even gotten a lot to share with you. Do you feel like you're getting enough from me? That's your formula. It's okay. And you're not going to say that in the first 30 minutes, but if it's an hour, whoever talked more thinks it went better. Remember that. Alina G. Yes, you are my beloved boot camper and your pretty face is on. Have you guys seen, because her name's on it, you got to go to the Bootcamp page and watch some of those videos. And Alina's on the right. And there's a whole reel of 10 minutes of quotes and other stuff. And thank you for that. Interview tomorrow. Hoping it's not another 3-hour interview. How do you keep your energy throughout? Is it rude to ask to come back if it goes your allotted time? So I feel like, Alina, I feel like I don't know if it's going to be a 3-hour interview or not. And what I would do is the longer it goes, the better, usually. It's true. The longer, the better. If you have a hard stop, you got to go pick up your child who's little, and you need to be somewhere like the daycare center or whatever, then you got to let them know. If that's not the case and you don't have a hard stop, then I would roll with it. So I would let them go. If they want to go another hour, I'd go. Take all the time that you can get. The more time you spend, the better off you are. The more they talk, the more they think it went better. The longer you can stay there, the better it goes usually. So I would do that. I would stay upbeat. I would be excited. I would take advantage of all the time. I really would. And if you get to the point where somebody says, "Hey, I'm your last interview. You were, I've asked you a lot of questions, but I want to give you time to ask me questions." And it's 4:00 and you got to leave, or you think the time's up. I would keep asking. How much time do you give me to ask as much as I can ask? That's what I would do. That would be my guess. That would be my suggestion. Hope that helps. Cecilia Riviera Tugway. I don't know how to say that, but you're welcome for the great tips. I just started this terrifying new journey of looking for a new job, and I have confidence. Your advices have helped me. You're great. Thank you so much. And you all got to remember this, and Cecilia and everybody else. You get paid, likely, most 99% of you, get paid to do something else. Your forte is not job searching. It's something else. So remember that. I do this every day in my life. Every day. And not all miles and time is created equal, because some people, they just do the same thing over and over again. They never seem to learn anything. But I got to believe that a lot of you are the type of people, because you're here, because you're actually investing this time, you're trying to get better, you're trying to get advice and help and all that good stuff, that you are probably dang good at what you do. And you've got to remember that. You've got to remember that. So it shouldn't be terrifying. This I would, every day when I wake up, I think about, I'm grateful, and I think about what I'm going to give that day, and I think about what's special that I'm going to make happen this day. And when you treat your day that way, when you treat it with that respect that it will be special, usually special things happen. And so I want you to remember that as you guys all go out on your journey, and you're looking for your next job or your next promotion or whatever it might be, you got to remember that. And your outlook will have a lot to do with your results. It really will. The speed, the energy, the people you meet, how you look at them, how you treat that encounter, what you do to take advantage, and not in a manipulative way, but in a positive way. And I'm getting to talk to somebody right now. How can I best help them? How could they best help me? When you start thinking that way, it'll happen. All right, Lauren G. I have experience with programming languages that are listed on my resume, but I don't use them regularly, so I'm not strong at writing or speaking them on the fly. I would not be confident if I get asked, how would you code XYZ in an interview? Any tips? So this is interesting, Lauren. Great question. I would probably be very clear on what you are awesome at. So I don't know if you are familiar with my resume template. In my resume template, the second paragraph of the career profile is on core competencies, and you can also add specific skills like technology languages. I would, in that section of the resume, write proficient in developing software using whatever the languages are. Way at the bottom, if you have a lot of languages that you use, and when I say way at the bottom, I mean at the bottom of the second page, you can put, technology skills and languages, or whatever you want to call it, technical expertise, whatever. And then you can put, rudimentary knowledge of, exposure to, or whatever, and just show that I've been exposed or trained in, or not, something like that. And you can say, I'm not very proficient in this particular language, but I've been exposed to it and I can pick it up pretty quickly, or something like that. All right, Alina G. Again, went to an interview for a full-time position and found out it's a 3-month freelance gig without chance of long-term hires. Freelancing becoming more common. How do other employers perceive it? So freelancing and consulting has been around for quite a while. Companies are using it. I think there's a couple reasons why this seems to be a little bit more prevalent than it was in the past. Number one, the population is aging, and people are working longer than they used to, into their 60s and 70s and 80s. I mean, it's nuts. So we're healthier, we're working longer, and we need to work longer. Because everything's so expensive, and we're still recovering from stock market crashes and all that kind of craziness. And so some people just like to work. So what some companies are doing is it gets expensive because the older workers usually cost more because you have more experience, your salaries are higher. So a lot of times what they'll do to minimize costs is they'll see if you're open to a contract. That's one option. Sometimes companies will put you on a contract if you are working in an area that is a commodity or something that is not as strategic. So a quick example comes to mind, like a lot of these telecommunication companies. They have large telecom technology systems that they are trying to sunset while they are trying to build more state-of-the-art technologies, as an example. So in the areas of where they're looking to sunset, it's smarter for them to hire somebody who's more of a temporary resource, a freelancer, a consultant, because they know that that's going to go away. That's what I mean by not strategic. And they make full-time hires and train up people who are going to work on more of the state-of-the-art stuff. So there's a variety of reasons why this stuff occurs. None of it's terrible, but if they were clear that it's 3 months with no chance of a long-term hire, then what that means is we're pretty clear that we don't care about this area nearly as much. That's true. It really is, because to have somebody on your staff for 3 months, that's a lot of time that they could be getting up to speed on your whole company and their, what they're going to give you in the way of their career and in their employment there. So that's my thought on that. All right, let me see how we doing on time. All right, Robertson, winning all the time. I had an interview with a great company, but one of the interviewers, who would be my manager, came off a bit immature because of the line of questioning. I found the interview to be very annoying, but the company was great. I ultimately was not selected, but I think my frustration reflected in my body language. How do you remain positive and confident in this kind of situation? The interviewer was asking textbook type questions, all of which had nothing to do with the job itself. And so, Robertson, a couple of different thoughts on this. And I know a lot of you go through this stuff. I do. I as much as I would love to coach everybody to interview you effectively and really get at the info that they need to make a good decision about your long-term success as an employee in their company, I recognize that that's not the case. And you're going to have to go through some of this stuff. So my first reaction is you always be upbeat, you always be positive, you try to develop the chemistry. If I'm reading this correctly, you probably were annoyed because the questions themselves were you thought silly, you thought whatever. So my reaction when I get in situations like that is I'm empathetic to this interviewer who is obviously unskilled and untrained, was probably given direction by somebody even less skilled that you got to ask these questions, is not coached properly, and so on. So my reaction is, okay, I'm going to determine if I like this person as a person. Literally, this is what would be going through my head. Do I like this person as a person? And maybe it's just not their fault that they're not skilled in interviewing. Then again, that person gets paid to do something else, just like you don't get paid to job search, right? Okay. So if I like the person, I try to focus on that. Then if I get a question and I'm wondering how that relates to the job, I actually, as the person who's being interviewed, would likely try to say something like, oh, I'd be happy to tell you about a story, related to that. I'd love to understand how, I could give you information that would be more in alignment with what the job calls for so that you could make a good decision about hiring me. So I've got the question. I can tell you about a project where I did that. I just want to make sure I'm giving you the insight so that you could make a good decision. And I would actually say that. Because at this point, what's going through my head, if I don't like this person, that's one thing, and I'm probably not going to want to work there even if they love me. But based on what you're telling me here, I wouldn't adjust my body language, and I wouldn't get annoyed, and none of that stuff. I would stick with it, but I would do what I could to try to help the interviewer. I literally think that way. And I know it may sound silly, but if you think that way, better stuff's going to happen to you. And you could decide at the end of the day, I just don't like this company and this is silly. And if this is the way they interview people, they probably aren't picking very good people, right? I mean, I think that. And at some point, you need to make sure that you're recognizing your value and you're not taking a job just to take a job. I understand we all have different needs and we all are in different situations, and sometimes we just need to put money. We need money to put food on the table. But at the end of the day, I want you all to find something that makes you happy. And if situations like this are going to annoy you, then I want you to stand up for yourself. And even if they want you back, then you move on. But while I'm there, I'm going to make the best of it. I really am. That's what I would do. Cecilia, Andy, I'm a very sociable type of person. I love meeting new people. Awesome, me too. But when it comes to business networking, I don't know how to approach people. Specifically, if I am job hunting, any advice? Cecilia, I do. Check out my job search networking videos. That will help. All right. Edward Lampert went to an interview, was not able to meet with person scheduled to meet with. Okay. HR person instead. So you met with the HR person. HR person indicated would follow up within a week to reschedule. Should I reach out again? I'm assuming you're saying that the person has not reached out to you within the week. If you're within that week still, wait 10 days, 10 calendar days, and then email them back. All right. Pradeep, hi Andy, how should we respond the question of why were you fired in your last company, Pradeep, I would get the interview intervention book. It is the number one question in that silver bullet chapter. Okay. Push Pesh. What can we do to avoid fumbling in the interview? It mostly happened when the interviewer was not showing interest in me and is occupied with his phone while asking a question, which makes me lose confidence. Okay, so number one, you got to maintain your confidence level irrespective of what the person is doing. I'm always going to go back to you now have a choice in how you engage with that person. If I got into an interview, this is me, if I got into an interview and somebody had their phone visible or answered the phone in the session and did not tell me in advance that my husband is going to call, our child is sick, my wife is pregnant, I might need to run to the hospital, or something like that, I would likely say, I see you got better things to do, I'm out of here. I literally would. That's how short my wick is for stuff like that. I think it is the most disrespectful stuff that anybody can do. And when they bring computers into the interview, it drives me absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. Unless you are given a presentation or you need to show me something, that stuff's got no business being in the same room with you. Your phone doesn't even have any business in being in the same room with you. That's how I feel. Okay, now let's talk about your reality. When you get in this situation, if they are being distracted, then I really needed the job, I would just maintain my comfort level. I would take a breather whenever the phone rings. Normally what happens when we get upset is there's no thought. We didn't intercept our thought. Okay? And the other thing, and I don't think you're in my leadership program, but we talk a lot about this in the leadership program. Actually, you know where you might be able to grab a little bit more on this, Push Pesh? In the Career Accelerator Program, Module 4. Okay, so in Career Accelerator Program, Module 4, I talk about considering the day in advance, the whole day in advance, and then I talk about considering the activity you're about to go into. The reason I'm mentioning this to you is because if you know that you are susceptible to losing confidence or becoming impatient when things like this happen, I would make sure you practice that consideration and you do that consideration exercise. Okay, what's this interviewer about? They're trying to, evaluate me. They could be going through a lot. If something happens where the phone rings or whatever, they look disinterested or whatever, my reaction is going to be, literally, you are pre-programming you to behave a certain way when something in the next 60 minutes occurs. You don't think this works? I want you all to try this. I want you all to try this next time for a whole day. When you transition from one activity to the next, I let go of what just happened, and then I program and wire my brain to make sure that I'm about to give my best to whatever I'm about to do. I don't do this in a self-fulfilling prophecy like, oh my God, the person's going to bring their phone in and they're going to be looking at it. Just, if that happens, here's my reaction. And you start thinking about that in advance, you will be amazed at your ability to catch it. You triggered yourself just like that, and you'll remain calm. Right? And then just lean in and just wait it out, and then go ahead and ask me your question, and then I'll answer it, and so on. So that would be Module 4, Career Accelerator. Grab that. I don't know if that's JL, maybe. I'm going to an interview in an hour. Awesome. Good luck. I tend to get nervous when presenting or getting put on the spot. Any tips to stay calm? What I just said. All right. Frank Felix. After negotiating an offer, I was told they would look into it, and then they ghost me. What should I make of it? Frank, I wish you'd have given me more info. I don't know if they ghosted you for a day, an hour, a month. If you're negotiating an offer, they've already extended the offer. If they've extended the offer, they would like you to take it. So I don't know what to make of it. I don't know how long it's been. If it's been a day or two, that doesn't mean anything. But I'd go back to, you negotiate, you gave them your terms or your counteroffer or whatever. Great, you'll look into it. What's the next time we're going to connect? And that I would want to know, because then the reason you need to ask this is because the next time when they say we're going to connect by Friday, whatever, then you know to give them a grace day or 2 or 3 or however, whatever's appropriate. If they say we're going to get back to you in 7 days, you give them a couple days, right? If they say we're going to get back to you tomorrow, you give them 1 extra day, right? That kind of thing. But you gotta get some insight, because that's going to tell you what to make of it and when to follow up. And I just cannot believe that stuff happens. I mean, it drives me nuts, because you're at the offer stage. I mean, you want to make it work. All right, Denise. Actually, hold on. Denise, I'm having an interview next week with someone I've met before. Randomly meet them, and they work at one of my dream companies. Awesome. What do I do to not seem that I'm trying too hard to be friendly? Denise, I wouldn't worry. And I you know what? Go back to the building rapport session we just did two days ago. Martin Tran, I'm having a breakfast interview with the team member tomorrow. What should I prepare? Martin, I don't know what I would prepare, like I would prepare any interview for any interview. One thing that I would say is I wouldn't order anything that you could potentially spill, splatter, or any of that good stuff, which I think I did that the other day. E2E292, would a poor phone screening once get me blacklisted from a company? I don't think so. I've noticed after I interview once at companies, I'm never asked again for another interview. I don't know what kind of impression you are leaving them with, but I don't know what to say about that. Natalie Romero, thank you, Andy. I used your tips for writing a resume and cover letter, and I got a job. I love it. Now, a few weeks later, I got a job offer with the company. I love that. Congrats to you. Zendove1. Hi, Andy. My struggle at the moment is that I'm 57 years old, out of the workforce for almost 9 years. Changed careers since, went back for a master's in a different field, and struggling to put a resume together. Resume together by myself. I'm not confident that I can do this. I'm not sure what format to use. Help. Okay, so number 1, don't worry. That's the first thing. Second thing is, I have premium stuff that you can enroll in. I have free stuff that you can look at. The place that I would start is if you, the Bootcamp is awesome, second to none. If you can't swing the Bootcamp, then take a look at my resume playlist on YouTube. And I also would highly recommend watching 3 Secrets to Get Your Resume Noticed, which is a free webinar that you can access from the front page of the Mile Walk Academy. The webinars that are cited in the recorded webinar section of the Mile Walk Academy page are just that. They're recorded, and you don't even need to set a time. You just need to enroll, get an email from us, and then you can watch them at your leisure. Okay, so I went to that model. I decided I wanted you to be able to access those webinars anytime. I didn't want you to have to sign up. I didn't want to have to deal with, I missed my webinar, I got to re-sign up or whatever. You get access to it, you go and you watch it. Watch it 10 times if you want, but I would highly recommend that one as well. I'll give you some insider views. All right, let me see how we doing, 12:19. All right, Patricia Atkinson had a phone interview with a VP and was told they would contact me earlier this week. I had the flu when I took the preview 5-part test, but did so because of the time frame. Email VP or HR went. All right, had an interview, was told they'd contact you early this week, so that was a few days ago. I had the flu when I took, okay, I don't know when you took the test. I don't see why you would not contact them. I would contact HR. All right, Pammy. The project I worked in was closed off by funding agencies, international bodies. How shall I explain this in my interview? Particularly, it was not my fault, not even my organization's fault. You just explained it just perfectly. I wouldn't use the word, it's not my fault, it's not my company's fault, it's not my whatever. I was working on a project that I loved. It was funded by Be Specific, and they decided to pull the funding, so my organization naturally shut it down. That's it. No explanation beyond that necessary. Faye. Question on updating LinkedIn profile. Left an organization in March of 2019. My resume shows departure date. However, shall I leave no departure date on the profile in LinkedIn? Faye, it's up to you. I think a couple months is okay. If it was me, I'd probably just end it on LinkedIn too. That's 6 months, right? 7 months. That's me. Okay. Let me see. We got Tony. I'm floating around the chat here. Tony P. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Tim Branch. My boot campers galore. Jacqueline Spencer. Hey. Omatar, you know I love having you. My boot camper. Kara, are we in the spot where I think I'm on the chat with you here? Oh my God, wait. Can I? Okay, couple things, because I got a few more things for you. Sam, my buddy. I love that you are doing lunch under your favorite tree at your new job. Sam is awesome. You guys all should be linked up with Sam. You should all be linked up with me. Decided to listen to Andy with a healthy snack. Yes, he is a good dude, and he's in my leadership program. Stacy Gilmore. I'm actually going to call you. Legit going to call you. But I got a funny chair story to tell you. We did a webinar. Oh God, I don't know when it was. It might have been like at the end of the year last year. I'm on the webinar. It's just my setup. I mean, it's okay. So that's my sunroom. That's where I think, have my coffee, do my meditation, all that good stuff. And one guy, Max, was on the session. He became a boot camper, but before he became a boot camper, he emailed support at milewalk.com. Kara got the email during the session. He says, listen, I know this is totally off topic, but I need to know what those chairs are that Andy has in the back. Not only did we get him the chairs, but then his wife ordered them. We did all that live. So, lots of stuff can happen, furniture sales and whatever. Stacy, those are from Pottery Barn. They are, okay, I've had a lot of furniture in my day. They are the most amazing chairs ever. And they are so comfortable. I can't believe it. And we had to wait like 3 months to get, because everything is made to order. It's not like you tell them, I want that chair, I want that covering, and it takes them 3 months to get it to you. But it's actually that's not true, because we wanted that color, and I think that might be like bourbon or something. Awesome stuff. All right, where am I? Okay, I think I'm kind of caught up, right? Am I? I do want to say, where am I? Okay. Pushpesh, you're welcome. Pushpesh, Career Accelerator Program, Module 4. Stacy, I'm going to call you later. Pammy, you're welcome. Zendo, what? You're all welcome. Listen, if you're not in the boot camp, get in the boot camp. All right, get in the boot camp. You're going to be hearing some amazing stories over the next week. And we start on Friday. Wait, can I? All right, I'm going to try to do this from my memory. I got a lot of stuff up here. In the boot camp, the one thing that I didn't mention is you get this amazing program. It's tons of great stuff, and it's very organized and packaged very well, and it will help you not feel overwhelmed if you just go through the steps. But in addition to the 5 main modules, what I like to do in these live sessions that we're going to have, and we have about 25 to 30 of them throughout the year, we have a cluster of 5 coming up. So we had like 1 in September, we had a bunch in August and July. Now October and November rolls around, and we've got 3 in October, 2 in November, or maybe it's 2 in October, 3 in November, something like that. But what I do is I take a portion of that boot camp or private session, and I call out certain things that are really important. So the first week, we're going to talk about self-discovery stuff and your mindset and all that good stuff. The second session is going to be on ATS tricks. I'm going to give you even more tools and ammo to beat the applicant tracking systems, or at least not to get bounced by them. And then the third session, we're going to talk about, some people are familiar with my challenge, but we're going to talk deeper about the challenge itself, the job search challenge, which has been so potent in helping people surface different opportunities. It's really, really been effective. The fourth one is on, we're going to do some interviewing stuff. And then the fifth one is I do a whole lot on salary negotiation and everything you need to do from the time you start to the time you counteroffer. But in the live, when you have all that, you have that immediately. But in the live program, I'm going to talk about, because I've been getting, like, not to sound funny, but because I've been getting so many emails from people that say, hey, listen, I got multiple offers, I'm not sure how to handle all this. I'm going to take you through how to do all that when you have multiple offers, which I'm confident my boot campers are going to get. That's the issue you're going to have. It's not going to be, when am I going to get a job? It's which job should I choose? And I genuinely believe that. So I hope you can make it. I'm back here on Tuesday. It's a couple days. This recording will be up and it'll stay on my YouTube channel, so catch that when you can. And then I'll see you Tuesday for body language, and Thursday again, we'll wrap up with presentation. And these are good and transferable for anybody doing anything, really. All right, you guys be awesome. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next week. Stacy Gilmore, I'll call you later. Talk to you soon. Take care.